Well, everybody, good morning to you. And of course, welcome to Every Cent Counts right here on New Era TT Radio here in the inside of the 11 o'clock hour. Of course, it is a Monday. Every cent really counts on a day like today. Garth Thomas joins us in between here. It's always a great time when Garth is here. So, Mr. Thomas, great morning to you. How are you doing?
And a great morning to you, Sir Charles. And I'm doing much better than I was doing last week.
Yeah, well, that is good to know.
I haven't shaken the floor in its entirety, but I resisted the temptation to engage the antibiotics. I believe in the strength of my own immune system. And I believe for it to remain strong, it has to be tested from time to time. So this wrongs a really test me.
Yeah, but you're right. You have to sometimes you really have to rely on it and give it a chance to work too.
Yep. Because very few people talk about the downsides of the antibiotics and stuff like that. And trust me, there are downsides. But Sir Charles, let me start off our great morning because I like to remain true to my philosophy that we should never settle for good while great is available. And great is always available. Do you agree, my Mr. Roberts? Great is always available.
It is.
I like to start sometimes, Sir Charles, with a little quotation. I'm sure I have used this quotation on the show before, but it bears repetition. And it says, infinite worlds appear and disappear in the vast expanse of my own consciousness, like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light. End of quotation. That's an ancient Vedic saying. Infinite worlds. You know what I like about that quotation, Sir Charles?
What is that?
It speaks to the reality of our imagination. Yes? That in the vast expanse of my own consciousness, I like that concept as well, the vast expanse of my own consciousness. Infinite worlds appear and disappear. And I like the metaphor that is used. Like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light. I'm sure all of our audience, all the members of our audience are familiar with sitting down and seeing a stream of sunlight coming through a window, and you see all these little specks of dust blinking in and out of existence. I find it's a powerful metaphor, and it is right on point in terms of our program today. I have with me as a guest, once again, following our great discussion last week, I have Patrick Roberts, who I knew first as the art teacher in Trinity College when my son attended the college. That was a little while ago. All right, but that is how I met Patrick, and we have, gotten to know each other over the time. He's an artist, a multidisciplinary artist. He works out of Port of Spain. He has a mass band called Kaiso. Patrick, I must confess, I am a little curious as to the naming of the band as Kaiso. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into our full discussion.
Okay, good morning, Garth. Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning to the wider world. So the band itself.
You're muted, Robert.
No, he's coming through. You're not hearing him? Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm God, are you hearing him? Okay. Because I'm hearing you.
Okay, then something probably is wrong on God's end.
Yeah, God, are you hearing me? All right, God is. I'm not hearing you. All right.
Sorry. I'm hearing you, but I wasn't hearing Patrick.
Yeah, but are you hearing
What
him
about
now?
now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, so the name of the organization, in fact, there are two organizations. There's a children's band and there's an adult band. The adult band is Imagination. When we applied for the name, we really wanted Imagination, which speaks to what we're talking about, right? We couldn't get Imagination because that name was already in the system. So we used our imagination and came up with Imagination. When you put it together, it becomes Imagination with that E in the middle, and a number of people call us Imagination. Because as your quote would say, we believe that the real true asset that we have is our mind, and that through that mind, any and everything is possible, especially in the Trinidad Carnival. So Kaiso is the sixth of, I think, 12 presentations that speak to the Trinidad Carnival. I am the creative director and artistic director, and I felt that we were not looking at Trinidad Carnival as we should. So the first band in 2019 Carnival was Drums and Colors. Drums and Colors, because it was 60 years of, 2018 in fact was 60 years since the Federation folded. And for the most part, we have not resolved those issues of the Federation. You know, we still have that kind of insularity, and it rears its ugly head mostly in the cricket. So, Drums and Colors was a play commissioned from the University of the West, by the University of the West Indies, through Derek Walcott as the opening part of that, the open ceremony for the thing. And if you remember that whole bacchanal with Adam and being one of the Asian Premier and Trinidad be capital and that kind of thing. And, you know, and the more things change, the more they stay the same. We would have heard Mego the other day talking about Eric Williams was not the first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And nothing could be further from the truth. Grantley Adams Eric was Premier here. He wasn't Prime Minister yet. And in fact, Trinidad had no Prime Minister before Eric. But such is life. And so the second band was Gloria. So, sorry, Drums and Colors spoke to the steel band. I was looking for a metaphor that spoke about us, how we could stand up in the world, and I could find none better than the steel band. The steel band is of us, from us, by us. Yeah, John F. Kennedy, yeah, just a little thing there. And it has gone international. And, you know what I mean? And the Calypso speaks to all these things. You know, Sparrow in Outcast. We talk about Calypsonians catching hell for a long time. But if your sister talk to a steel band man, things will get better. You know? But I mean, worse. Break she hand, push she out, that kind of thing. And so we went through Glorious, which spoke to some traditional mass. We didn't. Well, COVID interrupted. So Kaiso should have come in 21. But COVID decided to interrupt. And coming out of COVID, we did Limbo, because COVID put us in Limbo, as far as I was concerned, for 2 years. Limbo is the premier folk dancer in Trinidad Carnival. After Limbo, we did Juve, the opening sacrament of the Carnival. Last year, we did Canbule. And to put some, try and put some correctness into what people believe and have been saying for years. So this year's Kaiso. Kaiso is the refrain, the encouragement, the encore for good Kaiso, especially in the Kaiso 10. You know, and in doing the research for it, I went looking for about 50 calypsos that speak to Kaiso. When I found myself at about 150, I said, I didn't stop. You know, just stop, because you have more than enough information. But for me, the calypso is so enjoyable, so enthralling, so addictive. You know, I had to pull back myself because I'm about to design. So the band talks about from when the first calypso was recorded in 1912 and takes us to 2025 when the mass was being designed. And it is broken up in 7 different parts. to talk about that. You know, that first calypso was Mango Bear, that the folk song that we know. It was recorded by Lovey String Band. Then in 1914, the first recording with vocals. So more than just costume, the mask is educational. And I have been posting. I haven't posted for a couple of days. I've been posting, and I'm getting requests and suggestions, and people are sending me all sorts of stuff that just makes the whole project richer.
Okay. I find that is so very relevant to our discussion. I was listening to our discussion last week, and I realized there were a number of things that we talked about that I didn't pick up on.
Okay.
All right. And at the same time, I'm trying to, like as I said last week, you know, I'm really trying to get people talking. You know, I mean, the English way of putting that is, I'm really trying to stimulate some conversations, but but I'm really just trying to get people to start talking a lot about 2050, because we are here in 2025, and in a blink, it is going to be 2050. And I was reflecting on it early this morning, Patrick, and I said, you know, 5-year-olds, and I have a 5-year-old granddaughter. By 2050, my 5-year-old granddaughter, I'm hoping it's 5. I think she's 6. I think she's 6 now. You know, if she hear this, I are in trouble because they guard their age very jealously. But in 2050, whoever is 5 years old today will be how old? 30 years. They will be 30-year-olds. Patrick, these are the people who will have to run the country in 2030 and onward.
Yeah.
2050, sorry, and onward. All right? And we talked last week about education. And I'm saying, what is education? What is the product that education is supposed to deliver? And what is the primary mechanism? Yeah? And I came up with the fact that, education is all about shaping mindsets. So I was happy when early in the conversation you talked about mindsets. All right? Because we are on point. Shaping mindsets. So we have an opportunity over the next 25 years, starting with that cohort. You see that cohort I talk about, those 5-year-olds? Very, very, very important cohort as we move this thing forward. Yes? Because those are the mindsets that we need to shape. And our education system is the primary vehicle. Of course, we have social media and stuff and things now, but the primary formal, let me put it this way, the primary formal mechanism for shaping mindsets is our education system. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So the content of the curriculum, all right, and the emphases, the dominant emphases that this education system should highlight and underline becomes of crucial importance if we're talking about moving this country somewhere where it's supposed to be by 2050. All right? So I thought to myself, what do we really want our dominant? What do we want the dominant mindset in the nation to be come 2050? Because to me, that is what is going to be the central focus of changing, of engineering the progress that is desirable in our country. What are your thoughts?
Well, so for me, the first school is the informal teaching school at home. And then at a young age, your granddaughter's age, and I have a grandson who is now 4, they go into the formal system. The challenge is that we need to train the trainers. Those in the household and then those in the school. Let's go back to when I went to Trinity. I didn't know I was a teacher. I felt that my mother and Caroline Harris, who was then the principal at John Dee, conspired with each other to get me into teaching. So I started at John Dee, and I was a graphic artist, young, making plenty money. I had 5 clients who kept me very, very happy. I had an office at the corner of Edward and Park Street. It was a Crown General Insurance Company. I had an office in there. I didn't pay no rent. And I had keys and receptionists and things. And my mother kept leaning on me to go and teach. And but they say, obey your parents. So I went to teach. When I went to teach, I was decorating West Mall. So I left that job that was paying me $100,000 to go and take a walk. Was paying me $3,000 a month. Finance, the kind of things, God, that you wouldn't advise. But in that setting, I kept asking myself,
when you lean back a moment, Patrick, when you lean back a little bit, the voice drops.
Okay. So, what is my purpose as a teacher? And it was about shaping minds. So, like, for example, Warren, under normal circumstances, would not have done art for O-level because, as we like to say, he was bright. So they give him 8 subjects. And in fact, if they give him 15, he would have nailed all 15. So I spoke to the principal who agreed to allow these brilliant guys to do O-level art in Form 4, which they all passed. You know, so again, shaping mindsets and letting them understand that any and everything is possible, especially when you're young. Take on the world. What will happen? You will fail? No, you ain't failing, you know, you're learning how to succeed. And so that job was putting that in there. Of course I wasn't popular, but my records speak for itself because we had 100% success at that O and at A-level, and students used to be coming running for art. They used to have me for sharing juice. I said, all we sharing is love and work. And you know, I remember a morning I was going up to school and this lady was coming down. She says, good morning. I said, good morning. How are you doing? Like, yes, you work here? I said, yes, I do here. She, but I don't know you. I said, that's okay. Yes, you're a teacher? I said, yes, I am. Yes, she, what subject we teach? I said, I'm the art teacher. Here she, oh, I know you well. I said, excuse me? She says, well, my son, well, he couldn't draw. He said, we have a small family, we would eat dinner and thing, and this night he is antsy, because after dinner would be the normal talk. And so we said, what's going on with you? He said, I have art homework. He said, well, do your homework. He said, no, I need the table. She said, and for the first time in his life, he in first summer, pick up the wares, go on in the kitchen, wash the wares, come back, take up the tablecloth, wipe down the tablecloth. She said, I'm looking at this child that I don't know. And after the table is dried, he laid out his homework and thing. She said, I watch my son in. So he would say, Mommy, this is some apples. And I say, well, this was, yeah. All right. She said, and in a short space of time, he didn't have to tell me what he was doing. And just the way he set out his work, I said, in fact, I really didn't come to see you before, you know. But here she, oh, I know you well by what you've done for my son. And that is the purpose of educating, right? It's not just about, I am the art teacher, so I am getting people to pass art. No. It's training. That is happening. I had to get my pension and I want it from all you, so step up. And, you know, and that's it. So, and there I got involved in all different kind of extracurricular activities to let them understand that the same thing, you know, good is not enough when great is available, and great is always available. So, if we segue into what we were talking about last week in terms of the carnival, right? I said that all we have is carnival, and I feel if we go to 2050, that is where we need to go. I'm not saying that we should play mass every day, but which is a different kind of niceness. But we can design the fabrics for that best suited for this climate and produce those fabrics here that speak to the carnivalesque in us. Our buildings, right? The highways and byways are littered with signs that speak to advertising products. Nothing speaks to the carnival. You put up a little thing in Piaco when it's carnival time, and after a while you take it down. What for me is painful, as I told you earlier, I would go to Nigeria to work, and the first thing I had to do when I reached was to build a carnival monument in the airport. And of course, them things nobody ever asked me to do that at home. So there's so much we can do, right, in terms of the manufacture of the, let's say, the steel pan. And so we come back to Kaiso. In Hail Mr. Pan Maker, Black Stallion sings about that. How many grams of steel it would take to make a steel pan. We ain't reached there yet. And one of our colleagues died fairly recently. He was playing mass in Alberta, Canada, collapsed with a heart attack and died. And it pained me because not only the fact that he died, but one of the things I did about 20 at the beginning of this century was to write a curriculum for a PhD in mass. So you go in at the certificate level and you spend 7 years and come out with a PhD. So you can come out with a certificate, you can come out with a bachelor's, a master's, or the PhD. And was about bringing science and technology to the thing. We don't understand what kind of stresses the body is put under when you wear these huge costumes. All right? So our universities, the School of Medicine, I think, needs to get involved with that. And that's about turning the country to carnival. We ain't saying they ain't doing medicine, the music that is played in the hospitals, right? There is so much Kaiso. I ain't talking, and I talk about raw Kaiso, I ain't talking about any of his children. That we can play to uplift people's mood. Because of my post, I get all kind of comments. If I post late in the day, I will get a comment like, so what up? When I wake up since early, I need something to start my day. And people were happy to be hearing these calypsos to make them start the day, especially the patriotic ones. And that's what I'm saying. We can build a nation that is driven by the carnival. All right? In terms of everything, in terms of the way we approach things, the whole education system, because the calypso in this case is the greatest repository of our history. Most schools don't teach literature, and those that do barely teach West Indian literature. When we have this vault, right, this rich vein of knowledge in the calypso, but the challenge is that the calypsonian is always seen as a dunce. Coco is saying about that. Coco say I have 1A levels, but only want to talk to me like if I chop it. So they did Marshall the same thing, and Marshall wrote a calypso called Winer Boy, where you say, I am 9 levels. So just feel like the Winer Boy, and a Winer Boy with sense. If that's what we need. And then, what the carnival will also do, not everyone will be biased towards the academics between that, let's say 5 and let's say 18. But they might be biased towards the practical, and you can teach the academics and the practical. I design big costumes from an engineering perspective. I have no training in engineering, but I have a little physics in me. So I would use that to ensure that things would be where they're supposed to work. And when the young ones come into the mask camp, especially work with me, we go sit down and we will draw. So we start by drawing. You have to understand the biology of the human figure. You have to understand the physics, the stresses and the strains. You have to understand some chemistry sometimes. You have to, of course, some art. We do a lot of recycling. So you're talking about now ecology and geography. And so you can teach a whole curriculum based on carnival. Maybe that's where we need to go. It will be a long haul. But yeah, because if we go there, yeah, we'll be the model nation that Sparrow sang about years ago.
Well, you see, you're speaking there, and Bob Marley and Haile Selassie words come to my mind.
Yeah.
We think of it more in terms of Bob Marley, but Haile Selassie had a big input into that thing.
Yes.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Yeah.
Now, we have this cultural bias that we have inherited from our colonial masters. And we talk about colonialism, and we talk about how, these imperialists impose themselves upon our culture and so on. And yet, with all of that talk, we adhere more closely to the European culture than to our own. So when you start to talk about education and you start to talk about carnival as being a central element and focus of that, people may even, you know what happens, Patrick? Consciously, for those who are conscious, when they wait or they understand there's merit in the point of view. So there are few people who would discount it intellectually. But accepting something as being valid intellectually does not change your mindset.
Agreed.
That mindset has been constructed over a long period of time. So even though with your mouth you're saying, yes, we should go in that direction, when you check your behavior, when you check your priorities in terms of, especially in terms of the area of education, which brings me, do we still have, Patrick, a Ministry of Education and Culture? That has changed, right?
Well, culture has always been appendage to some ministry. We've never really had a standalone Ministry of Culture with a big budget, that's a national security and that kind of thing. So it started off as education and culture, and then the culture was tied to the IDC, and then it's tied to community development and all kinds of other things. And even in terms of, I Desperados happens to be my steel band of birth. I was born right by them and thing. Happened to spend a lot of time with Rudolph Charles.
Man.
Yeah, and a lot of what he spoke about then still is relevant now. So fairly recently, a new facility was built ostensibly for Desperados. And we, when the panel discussing, I said, but this is nonsense. How you go say that the place nice? I say the place might be nice, but it is not nice for a steel band. Right? I say the building, whatever you're building for a steel band, needs to have 3 pivotal points. One is the past. Right? So there needs to be a whole area dedicated to the history of these steel bands. Right? A lot of them are saying that they're 90 years, which I don't agree with. They're much older than that. And, so that they can go into this museum and see who they are and where they came from. That also means that people now have to go to school and learn how to run a museum. So we come back to the same kind of thing, right? It's a museum, but it's a carnival museum. And so the whole archival process, we need to think about that. And so that's the area for the past, and then we deal with the present. Even in terms of the past, there is no steel band yard I can walk into and say, well, they went Panama in 1970, say, I could buy a 1970 jersey. No. I'm lucky if I might get one from 2025 carnival. Right? So even so, and that takes you into the present in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of making money and all those kinds of things. And in that present, the current physical paniard is not what the steel band needs, because there is no shelter for the pan racks. So you have $1 million in instruments going up Charlotte Street on rack that you have out in the sun for 360 days. And on many of occasions, the things collapse, right? There's so many stories about pan rack breaking down and things on the way to the competition. On the way to the competition, right? Because we build these Spaniards, but we don't build nothing to shelter the thing that will keep, right? So we also come to that, and I have spoke. Every steel band, I literally walk to people here and talk to people. I've been telling them for the longest while. So we complain about the length of the panorama, and we still using block of wood to chuck the wheels. I've seen bass pan end up in the gully between the grandstand at this stage. And I keep telling them, all you know that I sell wheel with locks, right? You just need to put one on every carriage, you know. Nobody has done it yet. I hope somebody will listen and do it now. Just change one wheel, right? So that you can lock it in place so that when that bassman starts to get on bad, next thing you know, so the steel band comes on stage and they have these set of blocks of wood they chuck the wheels with. And when the steel band done, they had to move the blocks and put them at the side. And when the next steel band comes, oh, come on, man. So those are things that we need to deal with in the future. Also, the Panyard is still an entertainment auditorium. So we need to build it like an amphitheater where the patron can now come and sit and listen to the performances instead of standing up out by the road and car flying up Tragowit Road or wherever it is, a man had to be ducking. You know, let us build the thing properly. And we can, the models are there. Look at what they did in the last World Cup where they built stadia from metal containers. You can do the same thing. You know, and you have your vendors, and you have your merchandising, and you have your museums, and you have everything that makes the steel band self-sufficient, and for them to stop depending on sponsors. NGC just pull the sponsorship from free steel bands. They're in trouble. They don't know where to go and what to do, right? Had they put together a model for self-sufficiency, whether NGC sponsor them or not, right? And it's the same thing with the carnival. We have enough money. We can earn enough money for the carnival. So whether Dragon gas deal go up, down, sideways, just put that in the back there, right? Because there is so much we can do, right, in terms of using the carnival to build that kind of nation that you're talking about in 2050, Garth.
Okay. So that brings me, you know, we had a little discussion last week about the Panyard.
Yes.
And you come back again this week, and I am thinking, I wonder if as a part of the curriculum, as a very important part of the curriculum, if school children are taken on tour to a Panyard, and for them to experience the Panyard as a classroom. What are your thoughts?
Well, Mr. Lloyd Best, why are you pelting? But that was, you know, and Lloyd Best spoke about it, and when Marshall did his thesis for his master's that he graduated recently, he looked at Superior Deltones. Marshall, that was where he grew up.
Right.
And what Deltones has done. Deltones did a recording with Hugh Masekela. Well, there are some legal problems, so it never really came out. But Hugh Masekela came to Trinidad, and they went to a studio in San Fernando, a little studio, you know. And when they put on the work, and Hugh Masekela said, "Wow, Molly had that kind of genius in this country." There's Hugh Masekela, right? The world-renowned South African, trumpeter and that flugelhorn player and that kind of thing, right? Because he couldn't believe a little studio, you know, fellow inside of the normal, and doing big things. And That's what we're talking about. Look at what Borody has done for Point Fortin, right? So we have architects here who I am sure can design a proper panyard that sees with acoustics, and all the things that a panyard supposed to have. Everything, right? And we ain't reached there yet. What happens now? What I like what I see with the junior panorama. And those school bands, wow, they pull out all these stuff. As you know, I'm a QRC old boy. I was in there the other day working on a different project, same scout show thing. And QRC had a game against Sawa North. And early in the game, Sawa dropped 2 on QRC. The steel band was playing. And the flag waver, there was a bus blocking her. She moved from between the bus and the field and moved where she could be seen. So steel band playing her stationary and she waving the flag. Sawa lost that game 3-2, She just shifted. And so we come back to what Kitchener said about the power of the flag woman. You have no band without an experienced flag woman. And that little girl, I don't know if you know what she did, right? But so she would have taken the intercol, because that's where you see the flags and things, and put it in a league game. And with that, I don't know if it did something to the players' minds. They just stepped up their game and ended up beating Sawa. We come back to the carnival again, right? When the strike squad went to the World Cup, right? Who was the greatest support? When we look at the cricket, this whole T20 thing, right? These are the things we need to uplift. And like I say, but when you look at the amount of steel bands on the road for Labantil, on the Avenue, pan and powder and thing, it's mainly the young ones who are playing the pan, The older ones are in the percussion section, and it speaks volumes again. So we come now to another engine room where you say that, he mother used to open the church door and she mother just to pray on the head. Now she goes into my neighbor next door, oh, my granddaughter beats for a steel pan. So we have come a long way in terms of acceptance, but in terms of that uplift and understanding what the panyard is, I ain't think we reached yet. Lloyd Best is dead and God, but his paper is still there.
Yeah, but the inclusion as a formal part of the curriculum, you may have the odd teacher like yourself who recognizing the potential that is intrinsic in these things. And I talk about panyard, but we could include in that mix, Rob Patrick, mass camps.
Of course.
Okay. I don't know, you might be more familiar with it than me, but I am not aware that school children are taken to mass camps as a part of their formal education, or if they are taken at all, or if the mass camp is recognized as an amazing mechanism for teaching and for learning.
They come, I try to discourage them from coming into my mass camp, come between Easter and October. Right? Okay. That way I can spend time with you. You can come for 2 days, 3 days and we can talk and we can work and we can build and that kind of thing. So I have a niece who is in Providence. Fantastic artist. So she is telling the teacher that she wants to get permission to bring them. So she asked me for something. But the teacher wants to bring them carnival time, and I telling teachers, bring them this term. Because at carnival time, carnival is the 16th and 17th of February. By the time school open, the 3rd, 4th of January, I really have no time to, So you come and you get quick, and all you go. Whereas if you come now, you can get permission and they can come and spend the day in the mass camp. This is like the art class.
Yes.
And we can talk and we can work, and we can encourage, we can inspire these young ladies to become. When there's this belief that we cannot, and it's changing slowly, that you cannot live from carnival, of the money made from carnival. And
I know.
I tell people I have worked for myself. I have worked in the private sector. I have worked in the public sector. And that those three areas didn't even carry me to Tobago. Mass and art, I have seen places that I never dreamt I would have seen. And you know what's nice? I didn't have to pay. And on top of that, they paid me the first time we were paid in Nigeria. If we're like, no, God, you'd be talking to me in jail. Because the amount of money we had this on the way to the airport, this pile of money. Money in my socks, money in my pocket, money in my wallet, money in my bag, money in my drawers, you know, because all I seen is jail. Why going to do with all this? So, you know, and like even in the case of Trinity, when I left Trinity, I was trying to tie Trinity to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut is in the wealth of university, surrounded by poverty. Still carried in Trinity College. They were built the year before Trinity Cathedral was, so they're about 200 and something years old.
Wow.
But yes, and talk about prime prestige. They don't pay for public transport. If you're in town and you're lost, you call the campus and they come for you, that kind of thing. They used to be changed. That school system was changing the computers every 3 years. We had Trinity College, had none. So I tell me, oh, look at dumb thing by we, you know. And so I was also teaching at the university up there during the August vacation. And the program came forward. And the heads at Trinity tell me I can't go. And I said, I wasn't asking permission to go, you know. I am telling you I'm going. I just wanted permission to bring my art exams forward. They come with that thing happened. I said, okay, cool. And I promptly resigned. And I could have resigned simply because I would have gone and teach in a university for 6 weeks and make more money than my annual salary in Trinidad.
All right.
You know? And
every cent counts, boy.
Yes. And, you know, and then there was a bookstore. I was out in New Britain at Central State University also, and there was a bookstore. So every lunchtime I would go into the bookstore and they say, how come you're in here every day? I said, well, I teach. Yes, you're a teacher. He said, yes, would you like a discount card? I said, of course. You know, when they came for me after the course, I had 3 bags. I had a knapsack on my back and 2 heavy bags. The 2 heavy bags were books, you know. In a back was my clothes. So I have gotten art exhibitions abroad because of my carnivalesque art. So the carnival is what colors my work, and people see it and like again stories. You know, I was trying to sell work in 2012, trying to sell work in Rahway, and the bank had a lot of books. I realized whoever in the bank was interested, and don't care what, try it, can't get him. I'm not even getting to the secretary. I befriended the curator of the art gallery and thing. And I had work. In fact, I had an exhibition there. So when I was leaving, she will just donate 2 pieces of work for the exhibition. She was having this end of the exhibition. I'm leaving on Christmas Day. Christmas Eve day, she calls me laughing. Yeah, your work selling on. I said, my exhibition not until the end of the year. Yeah, she better tell you your work sell. Yeah, she won't get to buy it. I said, who? Yeah, she the same bank manager you're trying to get to. He came into the gallery. She had the work just on the ground, trying to lay it out properly. And he said, I want those 2 pieces. Yeah, but I ain't priced them at him. I answered, I'll tell you I want them. Right? You might not see that too, so, you know, and again, because my work is biased towards the carnival. So I'm not saying that, I'm saying that we can take this nation, use the carnival, and transform it into the state that we want in everything we do, just the way we approach life.
But we first of all have to understand that we are sitting on a gold mine.
Yes.
All right. And begging. Sitting on a gold mine and begging. That is so crazy. But Sir Charles, you there? It's
yes, after, I am. I'm right here.
It's quarter to 12 now. we could keep talking here for another hour or so
Easily.
with ease. But maybe there are some callers who would like to chip in and make a comment relative to this whole thing about our carnival as a prime resource, as a reflection of the energy of the people, the real energy, the one that will not run out, the one that is not a diminishing resource.
Yeah.
I would really like to hear some people comment on that, and especially in terms of the use of our culture as a incubator for teaching and learning, and for developing the kinds of mindsets that we want to be present in 2050.
All right. Well, let's invite our callers. So people, you can get in on the show now. You can give us a call, 281-1315. That's 281-1315, and we can take your calls. You can also call us on 299-5156. That's 299-5156. You can regular call, you can WhatsApp call, but yeah, we welcome you at this point in time.
Okay, Patrick, boy, you all could tell that I ain't shake the thing completely yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, man. You're working on it. That's the main thing.
All right. So Patrick, I am really intrigued. And to me, that this is such an important touch point for us to re-examine the impact of colonialism on the native mindset.
Yes. But God is so great that flu season falls carnival season, which is also citrus season. All right? So instead of the ministry telling us to come and take a flu shot, we need to encourage the agricultural sector to produce more citrus. All right? So, and for the whole year, so you could now leave the studio and go down the road and either buy the fruit to make your fruit juice, or you could buy, I talk about pure stuff, right? Why are we spending money to get a flu shot that imitates vitamin C that we can get from citrus? And at that time, that early time of the year, but that we used to call the rice season, you're seeing the let me use the language, the putigal, and the orange and the grapefruit and the lime and the lemon and thing. Right? We need to be able to produce, and I was taking that thing of the carnival and just bringing it year round, so that we don't have to be importing juices and that kind, because again, fresh stuff every day. Right here, I ain't had to drive and go in the country. It's right in my face. That is what I am talking about, where we change the whole landscape, right? Using so instead of trying, as the minister spoke about, making the savannah a hub for carnival, let us convert the whole island into carnival. The whole island, right? If you want to play mass every day, that's an entirely different conversation. But I'm talking about, let us use the mindset of the carnival, where, as Eric Williams said in 1962, we produce the most at carnival. People talk about the month that we produce the lesson is Christmas, where we just get shopping day and this day and that day. But you see, when carnival comes, yeah, peace. We work, we really, really work, and we produce as we have done for eons. But like I say, you go take a serious re-educating of the minds, and so again, to use the example with your coffin and thing, where we still colonial and we want to buy flu shot when we are citrus here, and we need to encourage that kind of growth.
Last week you talked about the history of Trinidad and Tobago by Dr. Eric Williams.
Mm-hmm. History of the peoples of Trinidad and Tobago.
There's the history of the peoples.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To the best of your knowledge, is that a part of our school curriculum?
It isn't.
It's not amazing.
And I believe that every student should, that should be mandatory, compulsory reading for every student. And like I said, the last chapter in that book, Dr. Eric Williams laid out the roadmap for us to become what we say we want to become, right? And the book is available. It's a red softcover book. It's available. Like I said, but I believe that every child who is able to read, needs to be able to read the book or have it. It should be a book for discussion in terms of how we transform what we are into what we say we want to be.
2050, Patrick, 25 years to change your mindset, Yeah. The bacchanalian aspect of carnival tends to get more play.
Yeah, well, again, so we come back to this Eurocentric thing. Carnival didn't start in Europe, right? The carnival started in Africa as a religious festival. It was sacred,
Mm-hmm.
The Greeks borrowed heavily from Africa. And when Rome overran Greece and became that superpower in the world, they changed the carnival into, like I said, because Bacchus is them god, right? Bacchus is not our god. And one of the things when people tell me carnival is a bacchanal, I say I don't know what you're talking about, right? Not for me. As I look at this whole year, this is work, right? How there is no way you can produce a steel band, a calypso tent, a calypso, a mass band, a mascot. In bacchanal, you cannot, right? You cannot produce anything in chaos except more chaos. And what they don't see is the work, the structured work that goes on almost whole year. Imagine the National Carnival Commission launches Carnival. This year they did it early, this year they did it in July, August. Normally they would do it in late October. You have bands launching since April, May, June. So the children are so way ahead of the parents. You're launching Carnival in October. For who? Anybody, especially on the eastern coast of North America, who wants to come to Trinidad and they have a plane ticket by now, either not come in or they need to find plenty money to get a plane ticket. We hear the hotels talking about they're maxed out guest houses and Airbnb and those kind of things. So wait till we're not learning. So let me take a hotel. Let me just say Hilton. If Hilton is maxed out, it means that they have to hire more staff. They have to get more washing soap. They have to get more food. They have to get more drivers. They have to get more of everything. Why we can't make that happen whole year and uplift the nation? Once people are employed and gainfully employed, crime will become something of the past.
But in addition to that, Patrick, is a question of the pure love, the natural love people have for the activity. You don't have to have a whip to let me come. It is a spontaneous thing. People, we carnival at different levels and so on.
Yes.
And different biases and so on. But I'm telling you, if there is a single unifying factor in our culture, it is carnival.
Yeah.
And those who are against that are the people who want to keep the society divided for their own benefit.
Divided and dependent.
Yes.
Right?
Divided
I
and
remember
dependent.
Years ago, I spoke to one of our culture ministers on 3 occasions, and I said, yeah, what? Give me 15 boys from all this so-called bad area. I said, I can't promise I go save all, but sure I can save one. After the third time, and every time she said yes. After the third time, I say, see this, I had enough. Because she was just telling me just to get off my back.
Yeah.
Right? The steel band as an example, like I said, we're going back to that thing about drums and colors. The steel band came out of the belly of the people. Look where it has reached. I'm going to say something that people don't like. Panorama was put in to kill steel band.
Ah,
And in fact, it is working.
it succeeded.
Once the steel band is out of the competition, the Spaniard is dead. I used to be in the thing in the 70s, and we used to play in FET. You don't see steel band in FET so again. And if they're in the FET, it's because it's time for them, the FET to done. And if we to go back to your Bob Marley example, look at what Jamaica has done with this whole reggae culture. You have the song, you have the sight, you have the colors, you have the food. Bob Marley sells more in death than he did in life. You have monks in Tibet chanting Marley. Why? Marley is not greater than Rudder. Right? Marley is not greater than Sparrow. In fact, Bob Marley said is when he heard Sparrow singing what we know as the slave, I'm a slave from a land so far. He said, nah boy, this thing more serious than I thought. Because them they were writing for Nash and them that stir it up little darling kind of thing.
Yeah.
Marley says, so the Calypso is what changed Bob Marley for him to help change the world. And we are not seeing these things, and we are not building a nation that we have an example right up in Jamaica, right? What is Jamaica, right? You hear reggae, you think Rasta one time. A lot of people feel the Jamaican flag red in it, you know. You know?
It's black, gold, and green.
Yeah. You know?
All right. Well, Patrick, we've run out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was, I think, a very entertaining session. I'm surprised that nobody called in, but we will keep working at it. And I am sure I am going to arrange a conversation. I have to talk to Sir Charles and hear him out. I have to arrange a session where we have about 5 or 6 people online conversing about these matters, because this thing has a lot of potential and capacity, and it is seriously under-promoted and undervalued. But thanks again, Patrick. Thanks for all of your contributions, and we will continue to be in touch. Sir Charles.
You're most welcome.
Okay, no problem. Tell people to get in contact with you now.
773-1474,
WhatsApp, call me, send a picture. I am at 2 Scott Street in St. Clair. So that's 773-1474. Patrick Roberts, I'm at 2 Scott Street in St. Clair. Half of Trinidad know me, and the next half I know. So.
All right, and Garth?
Yeah, 680-3185. 680-3185. WhatsApp me and let us talk.
All right, people, this has been Every Cent Counts right here on your TT Radio.